Welcome everyone to Talented Universe. I'd like to welcome all of our fans out there in cyberspace. We'd like to welcome our co-host first. Jag, thank you for joining us today on Talented
Hi.
Universe.
Hi, Michael. Hi, everybody. And I'd love
Okay.
to welcome our friend, our pal Vernon. Vernon, hi.
Good to be here with you guys once again. Very excited for today's podcast.
Yeah, that is great. And we would like to welcome our special guest who does the music for the Ark. And if anyone have seen the last 2 episodes of this season, wow, his stuff is great. Fred Coury, thank you for joining us today on Talented Universe.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
Great to have you, Fred.
Now, just to get started, how did you get involved with the Ark?
So I had met Dean a long time ago, many years ago, actually. I went and saw him. He's a great musician. A lot of people don't know that. But I went and saw a rehearsal with him, and I told the other person who took me, I told him that, hey, if they ever need a drummer, I'm going to take this spot. And like 20 years later, they needed a drummer. So I ended up being in a band with Dean, which I'm kind of still in a band with Dean. And one day we were at his house and he was talking about, and I wasn't thinking about working. I just, wanted to play. And he told me he had a show called Almost Paradise. And he said, I think you're the right guy to score it. And so I did that show and did a couple of seasons of that. And then he told me I'm writing a new show called The Ark. And I think you're the right guy. And I said, just put my name in the hat for it because it sounds great. He sent me a script and I saw it and I kind of freaked out. So I was hoping I'd get this show. And lo and behold, I wrote a suite of music that I thought would be right after speaking with Dean about it. And then I got the show and I kind of can't believe it because I just love it so much. I've not done sci-fi before, so.
Wow.
Amazing.
And I was going to ask real quick, how do you prepare to write for a show like an Ark? You get the script and you get a basic idea, or how does that come to you to make it, read the script and then actually produce an actual score?
Well, so I'll just talk about this one. Once I read the script, Dean doesn't like to do, at least with me, doesn't like to talk about really much until I've read the script. And then I think he picks my brain a little bit of what I saw in it and how I feel about it, just to see if I'm on the same page with him and the same type of things he's thinking. And then he gives me his thoughts on what, and it just becomes a conversation back and forth on what the musical tone is, because the Ark, it's different than other shows because it's one location. You're on one ship. So every room has to have its own feeling. And I learned that on the first episode. I was going through doors with the same sound and the same theme, and that wasn't right. I was getting called on that, saying, why? We're in a completely different space here. So that was the challenge in this one. But going back before that, kind of creating a sound, I kept sending music back and forth to Dean. The theme I wrote on piano and I sent it, and he just loved it. And then he kind of made some adjustments to the ending and some things, how long he wants it, and I'd like it to crescendo here and arc here. And so it's the great thing about having somebody like Dean is he is a musician, so he does get it, and he knows how to have that conversation, and it makes sense to a musician. Most of the time, it's not that way. They just make it orange.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get your handy dandy trusty decoder ring and figure that out.
Yeah.
Right.
And we do that, but with Dean, it's just he knows exactly what he's looking for. So, and that's how we came up with the sound for the show. Season
Excellent.
1, season 2 is different.
Yeah,
just a little bit, yeah.
just a little bit. I just wanted. Here's where I do the little groveling, and then I'm going to let Vernon do the rest of the interview. But
Well, thank you.
the first episode of season 2. Now we've been talking to Jonathan, we've been talking to Dean, we've been talking to Christy, and everybody that said they just pushed it in terms of just production value. And I could definitely don't get me wrong, you did an incredible job with season 1, with the music and everything, and the incidentals with the characters and everything. But in season 2, you could tell that you also brought your game to the show. And the first episode, like I was talking about the evac when they were leaving the Ark, I literally got goosebumps during that whole evac sequence, especially when they leave into space and I could definitely hear the Ark motif, but in minor. That was just amazing. Explain to us how you came across, and by the way, before you do that, anybody hasn't checked that particular sequence out, do so and try to pay attention to Fred's music in that sequence, because it's its own character in that particular sequence. So if you could explain how you came across just doing that part, that's amazing.
Well, I think with the theme. So obviously, the theme in season 2 plays when anything is triumphant, and then when they win, or when there's a personal win, or there's the entire ship is saved, or anything like that happens. But when we're trying to get something and it doesn't happen, it's still, if they're trying it, it'll go to a minor key because they're not really getting what they wanted, but they're still doing it as a unit and as a group. So that's, when it went minor there, it was it's still a one for all and all for one type of feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that was, like I said, it brought definitely a goosebump on my end, because I could feel just the tension. And I'll get to another question, but I want to give my co-host Vernon a chance to ask something on his end.
Yeah.
Sure
I'm just thinking, guys, like, Fred, I'm going to ask this to you now, and I think you'll just motivate the thought that I have. But let's imagine iconic moments in audiovisual productions without music. Like, a picture paints 1,000 words, right? But I feel like music just takes it even further because it sets the tone. And I'm thinking of something like Titanic. Would I cry without the music of Celine Dion, or the thing that's setting the tone? And yeah, for me, Fred, do you also feel like getting something like a scoring opportunity, being in this specific part of the entertainment industry, gives you almost the chance to expand on a story that would usually be like, for a radio song, it would be 3 minutes, but now you get whatever, 20, 40 minutes. And yeah, just what would you say? Just the audio visual would be without the audio. So it's a two-parter. I'm trying to imagine that for myself, because I don't think we would get the full gist of it without music. So that's how important it is to me, just as someone who appreciates it.
Well, I think it's different. Writing a song is different than this. So when I'm telling someone, I'm trying to explain to some of my buddies in music industry what I do, they all think I'm placing songs in here, but I'm not writing songs. So there's no structure, there's no verse chorus in TV at least. So I tell them I'm not even writing music. I'm writing emotion with musical instruments. So and then I agree with you that the music really brings it and helps either a performance, or help set the tone, or the place, or the time. We do a lot of time jumps. but also not having music is very important. So if there's something happening when I'm writing, and if I'm feeling emotional because of what's happening on the screen, I might lay out completely, let them do it, and then bring something in. And we have a whole thing. So Jonathan is a terrific showrunner because he also gets music exactly where it needs to be placed. So we have that conversation during our spotting session, and he knows exactly where to come in and where to come out. And sometimes he'll be like, what do you think? Should we do this or do that? And I might take a couple of liberties here and there, but I pretty much stick to the script of where he wants music and what he wants it to feel like, because he's in that story from the very beginning and has seen it many more times than I have. So he knows exactly what's happening, with whose point of view it'll be, or how he wants my music to play. Does he want it to support? Does he want it to clash? Does he want it to just be a bed underneath and kind of disappear? So having the time, the 22 or 24 minutes that you said like that, it's not really the same. I think a movie would be, because you have a lot more time with no dialogue that just can go on, and you can develop something bigger and bigger. But this is dialogue, bang, bang, bang. It's always either dialogue or there's the ship sounds, which is always going. So a lot of things you have to kind of weave in and out of. I hope I answered that. If there are any other,
you did, but that was sorry.
If there's any points that I missed.
No, you expanded well, and I just thought about the non-melodic sounds, how important that is as well. Like, I get what you say. Like, sometimes it's if I understand correctly, it's sometimes good to almost put more focus on the character in question when there's no music, because it almost pulls it in, and that can in itself create an emotion. But like, what percentage would you say it is melodic sounds, like, let's say, like violins or whatever, a scoring piece like that, or versus the the non-melodic sounds like the ships or whatever, the environmental sounds,
Yeah, I don't really know if there's a real percentage of what it is. If we see the ship this year, I know I moved a lot of the way out. Like, so before I would score over anytime the ship would take off, or if we're gonna hit the engines and there's any movement of the ship. But this year we had the conversation that I would like to lay out, because the ship sounds are amazing. I go to movies all the time just to hear the score, and my goodness, there's something huge happening. What's the score for? It's like there is so much in the sound effect and the dialogue and the yelling and the crashing and that sometimes it gets buried. So I think our sound effects on this show, season 2, are a score of their own. So there might be some things that we'll add underneath just to give it something, or to give it some motion if we need to propel it and make it feel a little more anxiety driven. If we need to put an emotion behind there and tell the audience, really, it's okay to feel this. But a lot of the time we'll have that conversation back and forth about laying out for the big sound effects. Especially the sound of the ship is just so cool. At the beginning, they're like, you want to redo that and do something of your own? And I said, no, this is just so good. Because I'm just going to try to do that, because it's so, that just guttural, wow. It's almost like I don't know what it is, but it's cool.
Yeah, let's get to a few of the comments in the chat room. Marcia says, greetings, the ARC fan group is here. Marcia runs one of the big Facebook groups. Susie says, checking in. And then Marcia asks, which I guess is similar to what the answer you gave about the rooms, does each main character have a theme?
No, they don't. I have, there is a theme, a a sonic theme for Garnett, and there will be themes when people are paired up. So like Alicia has a theme, but it's a sonic theme. So something happens because she's always thinking. So you'll hear this almost computer-like melodic thing happening every time she's speaking, when she's thinking. And same thing with Garnett. When she's thinking, you'll hear this where in the background. It depends on what she's thinking about. Because if she's just having a conversation, it won't. But if she's like, okay, she's going to come up with something cool, she'll have that. So not every character, but anytime there is, Evelyn has a theme, sonic, and so does Kelly. So it's all sonic thing, but not melodic themes. There was a theme. There are, yes, sometimes there are, but characters on this show don't have their own themes.
They don't have their own.
No.
And then Susan Hyde says, the creative process is so fascinating. And then Steve Smith asks, on average, how many instruments do you play per episode for the score? Now, I don't know how many you use or actually you play. I'm not sure which he's asking, but if you want to answer both.
Yeah, so Steve should know that because Steve lived across the street from me when I was growing up. So my trumpet and
so he heard everything.
He heard my drums. But on something like this, actual instruments on the Ark, I play my violin. There are no guitars in the Ark. There are no drums like drum set on the Ark. Everything else is in the box. I do play this one crazy instrument. It's called Azam bells. It's Azzam bells, and it's this. It's a wooden box, and it has a broken cutout of a cymbal on top, and then it has this long thing that looks like a half of a hanger made of wood, and then it has three long pieces of metal with big brass balls on the end of them, and you can bow it. You can hit it. I have these things that look like lollipops, but the ends are rubber balls, and then you can scrape it across it. So a lot of the scary things in the Ark, a lot of the scary sounds in the Ark are all this machine that's plugged in, and then I affect it in different ways. So that's a real instrument that I play. Everything else I've kind of created in my template for the Ark. So I make a template for each show, and basically it's the sound of the Ark. So everything else is in the box, and I tried not to go. In this season, I did a little more of the classic string sound, but everything's a little dirtier. Everything is tuned lower than normal. So if all of my strings are tuned to a baritone tuning, if they're just a little bit lower, they're a little bit darker. So, but yeah, there are no additional musicians on the Ark. It's all me.
It's all you. This is a follow-up from Steve. Violin, trumpet, drums. I spent lots of hours with him and his wonderful mom.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, that was a lot of support from friends and family. Yeah.
And Ark 54 says, good morning, Fred. I'm thrilled you're here.
I'm thrilled that you are here. Thank you, Ark 54.
And Susie has a question. Do you have a board that provides the sound effects as you're doing the musical scores? I kind of think you kind of said, but maybe she's talking about something different. But
well, the sound effects are provided by, so the sound team, other than myself, they're in Serbia. So the sound effects come in. Sometimes they're partially done when I get it and I get to see it. So I write everything to picture. The suite of music that I wrote before the show is the only thing I've done with no music. I mean, with no picture, but everything else is done to a lock picture. So I'm seeing the show. And the sound effects, sometimes they're all in there, sometimes they're partially in there. Sometimes I'll get a little note on the screen that'll say, this sound will be here. Or if I'm wondering what will be there, I'll ask them. I'll say, are you guys going to do that? Or let me take this over. And it's kind of a handoff back and forth. So I don't have anything that does this sound effects because I don't do them.
Okay. Jag, you want to go ahead into question? We'll get back to questions in a few minutes.
So you may have already answered this, but do you get to go to Serbia sometimes to kind of observe the production as well to help you with the music?
I'm very upset about that.
What's up with that?
A minute to go, I thought, for sure I'll be able to go. But, maybe next season.
So let me ask you, was it easier to create the music that you're using in season 2 versus maybe season 1? Because back in season 1, you were probably working on this stuff during a pandemic. So was it easier, or did it matter because you basically do everything electronically, emails and notes and stuff and phone calls?
It's nothing changed for me.
Okay.
Nothing changed for me. The only reason I never like to say easy because there's always a difficulty because I'm challenging myself, and I'm sure I'm being challenged by production, by Dean and Jonathan. They're really on it. They know exactly what they want, and if I do something wrong, oh man, I'll hear about it, right? So but there's not really a difficulty in that. It's just a personal challenge, which I probably make it more difficult on myself. And then the first season, you're kind of taking all of your ideas and throwing it in, and it's everything you thought about. But then you have to remember that you're writing so much music that season 2, you got to come up with fresh ideas quickly, and thousands of them.
Right.
And then so when I do, going back to the question about the themes, there are themes with characters. If somebody dies, or if they have an important moment together, or there's a romance, there's always a theme for a romance. There's always a theme for something that we don't see. If there's something bad happening, there's always a theme for that. But it's all sonic themes, except for the love affairs. Those are all melodic. So I always make big notes on my spotting notes in red, and it says, whoever Bryce theme, and that will be a little bit of a melodic theme, and then I have to go back and see what I did there for him. So that's the way I treat those. So that's the only difficult thing, remembering things.
Right.
Well, I'm going to post this question up here because I just saw it come through right when Jag was asking the question. This is basically what he asked you. I just wanted to, Christopher J. Smith, just, your question was just answered about how often he's on set. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
I've never been.
So.
I had one show that we shot in Albuquerque, and I got to go to Albuquerque, and we built it was a medical drama, big hospital set, and I got to go there. And I do find it beneficial to be on set, to see, just because I get more ideas. Like on the hospital set, I was like, okay, I wonder what that machine sounds like, and what this thing sounds like. And then I can do that. But maybe, hopefully there'll be more of the arc, and then I can go to Serbia and be on the ship, because that really, or even if I had a helmet sitting around, I could look at it. You know what I mean? So, but I always have a picture of the arc up, just off to the distance, just to see it from a broad view.
Well, we're going to see. We happen to know that at least Jonathan tends to watch these programs, so maybe we'll hint at him that you probably do need to go to Serbia to kind of get a feel of the actual arc itself. So, if Jonathan, if you're watching, just a little hint,
Perfect.
Hint.
Business purposes.
Yeah, let me catch up with this one. Then we'll go to and see if Vernon got something.
No.
Tony Reeves asked, "How do you feel?" I think you kind of answered this. How do you feel when you watch the show? Are you proud or self-critical?
Both. I'm proud of the show, but I'm always self-critical. I always have been my whole life in my music. I could have done this better, or sometimes I'll be like, wow, that was cool. I have to remember what that was, and then the fear of not remembering how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not self-critical in the sense that it'll hurt my performance in the future, but I'll catch myself like I cheated on that one. That's where my self-criticism comes in. Like I always want to better it, and I want, the fact that you said season 2 was a step up. I always want to continue to do that, and I think once you go, man, I'm there, then there's nowhere to go, and you're done. So, and that's the end of it.
True.
So I don't think I'll ever be completely satisfied with what I've done. I'm happy with the work I've done, and I quite like it. And some things I'll finish and just go, yeah, it was killer. But I think self-criticism, as long as it's not damaging, is healthy to a certain extent. I don't want to hear it from other people, though.
No, of course. No. Vernon, do you have anything else? Or
Yeah, I would just like to know, Fred, where does the muso side of you fit in? Is that something that you have to balance? Do you still gig? Pardon my ignorance if I'm missing something obvious, but if so, how do you balance it? Obviously, you have all of these instruments that you play, and you play it well from what I read. So, is that still something that you have to balance out with the scoring, or is that something that's moved to more for your own amusement and your own pleasure?
Well, the band isn't touring, so I don't have any like extended times that I'm gone. But I think it was during the first season of the Ark, I played drums on a show called Peacemaker on HBO,
Okay.
the John Cena show, for my friend Kevin Kiner, who's the composer, and he asked me if I'd play drums on it. So I get to play on things like that. So, I gig in that sense. And I played on that show called, it was a movie called Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh yeah.
So those kind of gigs are fun to do. And that's the only thing I do. I'll go and I don't like to jam, but if I get asked to step in and play with somebody, I'll do it. But kind of nothing gets in the way. Thank goodness. Yeah, because I just put all the time. I work on this show 7 days a week. I don't like to take days off. I just, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, and also going back to, I don't know what question it was, I think about the music. And many times on my score, you'll see when I turn it in, IR1 or IR2 or IR3, which means it's an in-house revision. So I noted myself. I gave myself a note, and so I'll be in the shower getting ready for the day and just, okay, I have to go back, and I'll go back and I'll find that cue and I'll redo it because I thought about how to make it better. So that's why it's a 7-day-a-week gig. So I really don't have time to tour. Do anything like that.
The other day you posted yourself.
Huh?
I was going to say the other day you posted yourself on Instagram that you were in front. It looked like a Electric Entertainment, and you were proud of the 2 posters that were on the building.
Oh, yeah.
And I noticed that one of the commenters was Debbie Gibson, and for us Gen Xers, Debbie Gibson was, one of the 80s pop stars. And I was in my research, because I already kind of know who you are. I also noticed that you love the Storm Chase. That was awesome as well. That Debbie Gibson actually commented. I was like, oh, this is Debbie Gibson, the real Debbie Gibson. Then I realized you had worked with her in the past. So you're not just a film or TV composer. You've been, and obviously the drummer in Cinderella, you've been a production and producer as well, right?
Yeah. I've known Debbie for 30 years. I've known her because our keyboard player was her musical director back on the first tour. So I'd known her I went to her 18th birthday party in New York City.
Wow.
And I didn't know her at the time. So that's when I first met her. And then she introduced me to my wife, Amy. So they were friends mutual friends. And so on the last record, I did a bunch of tracks with her, re-records way back in the day. And then last year for her record, I co-wrote a couple of songs and I produced them. And then I played drums and bass on them, and I did the string arrangements for her. So we love her. She's a sister, and yeah, she's definitely part of the family. Yeah, we love Debbie very much.
It's just great to see the support, that people get from anywhere, and it was nice to see when you posted that. I saw all the comments and everybody's so happy for you and proud of you and everything. It's awesome.
I was just saying, I'm so grateful for this gig, and I can't believe that that's there. It's like a dream come true. It's beyond my wildest dreams. And then every single person, there was so much support, and they're like, great. I couldn't, I'm obviously, I'm speechless. I could not believe it. And just, yeah, the amount of people and everybody from the rock and roll world, and, it's just insane. Yeah. So super cool. I'm the luckiest guy in the room always. I always look at myself that way.
Nice.
Yeah. I missed a few questions, but we've got like 2 minutes. So this is going to be.
If you want to get some questions in, I don't mind. I don't want to.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to
ask this a while ago and I couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the other things you've been in. I was watching The Night Shift recently when there is an actual song with lyrics that appear in the episode. Do you also choose what song goes in that space, or does somebody else do it?
So that's a music supervisor. So their job is to find those pieces of music, and everything from finding the music that works and to getting the rights to use it and making those deals. So we don't have anything to do with that at all. And one of the actors, J.R. Lemon, is a good friend of mine, and he would always for all 4 seasons, man, you did such a great job on the show. I was like, oh, thanks. He goes, man, that song that you played at the end. I was like, that's not me, man. That's a long-standing joke in him.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. And I don't think we did ask this. Roger asked, he says, may have been asked already, but who are your favorite composers or type of music that you listen to for a bit of inspiration?
Great question. So I have a lot of favorite composers because this is still kind of new to me, this world and how it's grown. Of course, I've been doing it for 20 years now, but it always seems new and fresh because I'm always hearing new things. There's this guy, Nathan Whitehead, that I used to listen to a lot. Danny Lux is a television composer who's one of my closest friends. And he's helped a lot with my career, just kind of giving me advice, because all these guys came up under someone, whether they came up under Hans Zimmer or Mike Post for the TV side, and they've all learned the tricks coming out. And I was just thrown into my first show, which was on NBC. And I was like, I went to school for this, but there's nothing like the real world thing. So those guys for TV, it's definitely Danny Lux is the number one. And he does, if you don't know, Grey's Anatomy for 15 seasons, and Station 19 and Manifest and Pastor. I mean, you just name everything.
Yeah.
Melrose Place. And so he's that. And then newer guys, I mean, Tyler Bates is a good friend of mine. So we did a thing for Tracker recently. He asked me to come over and I sang on some rock track with him. So it's kind of like this little close-knit community, but of course, Hans listening to what he does, and Benjamin Wallfish is cool. There's just so many great composers up there. And I learned from everybody, just like I did with my drumming. I would learn from anyone, whether I saw them in a bar playing or if I saw them in a stadium, I'd learn something. So anytime I listened to who did the score for Captain Phillips. I really liked that guy because it was really a broken down score. And of course, Ludwig Göransson, he's cool too. So, you know, everybody does something, and I hear little things here and there, and it's going to school when I listen to somebody's score. You know.
And Marcia, let's do this one, and go back to Vernon for a last question from Vernon, if he has one. What are some of your favorite musicals, Marcia asks?
Well, I love Wicked. Like musicals.
I think she means musicals like Broadway, I would say.
Oh, I love musicals. So, Wicked, Legally Blonde was great. Oh man, it was so good. Just because the music, just the force of that. What was the one with Hamilton? Incredible. All those records are so good. Waitress was incredible. What a great record. I'm just getting chills. Waitress. What a really, really great musical that was. Book of Mormon. Saw it 6 times. Just the music is so great. So in the old days when it was, and I saw Cats, I saw Rent, you know, with the legit singing. That's what they call singers of musicals on Broadway. That was a certain style, but I think once Book of Mormon came out, they had some legit guys and then some traditional type of voices in there. And that record was mixed by a guy. So Legally Blonde didn't sound the greatest, but live it was just incredible. And then Frank Filippetti mixed Book of Mormon. And that's the first time I was like, wow, this just rock. And now the sound of musicals on record are just great. Waitress was a great sounding record too. But Frank Filippetti did I Want to Know What Love Is for Foreigner. He did Korn. He did he's a rock guy. He's a pop guy. And an amazing mixer. So that record sounds incredible. So yeah, those are my faves. I haven't been to a musical that I didn't like. How about that? Yeah, but I'm a huge musical fan. Jazz hands.
Yeah, Vernon, anything else to close out, or?
I'm good. Yeah, you guys can say as well, but yeah, Fred, it's been just a pleasure for me to learn from you. Then, you know, you passing on the knowledge to all of us as well, and just giving us some insights. So it's great to see it from a new angle. And yeah, Mike and Jag will also agree. We really appreciate your time and wish you just all of the best going forward as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this was really, really fun. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Fred.
Made
and
it. We had one more. Somebody made it.
Thank you,
Marcia.
I was just going to say, keep continued success. And just one final little thing from me. If the season goes for the ARC to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, are you looking forward to it? Or are you kind of concerned that, oh, what kind of music am I going to write for those seasons? Or do you just focus on where you are right now?
Focus where I am right now. I'm hoping for all of those, but what's on the screen and what's in the script and what the actors do, that's going to kind of tell me what I'm going to write. You know, the sound of this season, as you mentioned before, changed quite a bit, but what's on screen has changed quite a bit. So,
correct.
And that really kind of pushes it in that direction. Dean had mentioned that to me as well. I said, I noticed the scores because he's obviously heard the whole season. I'm done with the entire season now. So it's basically I'm taking in what comes to me visually and sonically and scripturally. That's the most important thing, is the story. So that kind of tells me what I'm going to do.
Let me do this last one. I just got do you ever lie awake at night because you have music going through your head all the time? Oh, yeah.
Every night for every day of life. Yeah. Yeah. It never is not. And sometimes it is so much that like, okay, I'm going to get up and put this down. Right. So that's what kind of keeps me going to wake up in the morning and just get right back to work, which doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, and I'm going to post this one just because I'm hoping this too. We hope to see you at ElectricCon in October.
That would be very cool. I'm really happy and proud of Dean for that one. That's going to be really great. So I hope to be there. Yeah.
Real quick, did you know that you share the birthday with Christy Burke?
No,
October 20th.
I did not know that. I knew about Mickey Mantle and Tom Petty, but I did not know that. Oh, that's so cool.
Okay. Yeah.
It
was meant to be.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's cool. I did not know that.
Well, Fred, I know you have to go, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming out. And before I just said, we got to say we had a bunch of likes today. Christopher Smith, Aisha, Benita, Roger, Andy, Kathy, Christopher,
wow,
Andy, and Susan. They all gave us a like or a heart, and we appreciate them. Please subscribe, like, or join our channels so you don't miss anything about the ARC. And before I say bye, Fred, I want to say thank you for coming. And we'd love to have you back again, if you could. And I forgot to throw up this other banner. Roger threw up that one for me. I appreciate it, but it's just been so crazy. Here are Fred's links on his webpage, Instagram, and Facebook. If you miss it here, go to ndbmedia.com under Talented Universe, and we have them on our webpage too.
ndbmedia.net.
ndbmedia.net. What did I say?
.com.
Oh, golly. I'm so bad. This is one of those days.
Come on.
Yeah. So, everyone, thank you, everyone, for coming, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.